Broadcasting all over the world at urbanbroadcastmedia.com, delivering love and inspiration 24/7. This is UBM Praise.
UBM Praise proudly presents Warriors Talk.
You have just tuned in to Warriors Talk with your host, Lady Rochelle. Warriors Talk is a platform to address how cancer, as well as other diseases, are running rampant throughout our country, and how we can move away from awareness to taking action. Warriors Talk will empower listeners by keeping them informed, connected to services, and encourage them to thrive while surviving.
I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor. I'm gonna make it. I was survivor. Keep on surviving. I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor. I'm gonna make it. I was survivor. Keep on surviving.
Welcome to Warriors Talk. I am your host, Lady Rochelle, and I am so excited that you have chosen to tune in today. It is Testimonial Tuesday. Please join me on all forms of social media. Facebook at Warriors Talk with an S, Twitter at Warriors Talk 1, Instagram Warriors Talk 1, and you can also call in at 773-675-5906. And remember, if you missed the show live, you can also catch the rebroadcast of the show at Spreaker.com, and make sure that you follow me, Warriors Talk at Lady Rochelle. This show is actually dedicated to my sister, Nancy Marshall, who actually lost her battle with breast cancer back in December of 2010. And I just want to let her know that she is not forgotten and that we miss her. So this is dedicated to my sister, Nancy Marshall, a.k.a. Lala. And just like with anything else, with Warriors Talk, we do not discriminate. So we know that every day in the U.S., 4,000 men, women, and children are diagnosed with cancer. So cancer does not discriminate, and neither do I. So I just want to real quickly do a review from last week. We went over early detection as well as risk, and just so we can make sure that our foundation is building solidly. So we're going to go over real quickly so that you can add these to your toolbox so that you know the information that you need for early detection and your risk so that you can start taking action. So make sure that you know you're normal. That is the number one thing. Make sure that you are actually touching your breast. You're getting familiar with the tissues in your breast as well as the look of your breast. So you should be able to feel, look, touch, so that you can become familiar with what is your normal. And I know sometimes we don't like to touch ourselves, but this is very important. If you are doing this every single month, then you will become familiar with yourself. And then when something changes, you would know right away so that you would know to go and get attention. So some of the things to look for when it comes to breast cancer, things like swelling, soreness, if you have a rash, look at the nipple if it's changing the shape or the size, anything from dimpling to puckering of the skin, even itchiness that does not go away, a discharge from the nipple, persistent pain that's in one spot. And it also says if you find a lump that is the size of a frozen pea, like the vegetable pea that we eat, if you find that, pay attention to that. If these symptoms last for more than 2 to 3 weeks, you need to be seeing a doctor. Now we're going to move on to risk reduction. According to the American Cancer Society, they say that we should be looking out for these things. We should be knowing what our risks are and how to reduce them. Exercising 10 hours a week. That seems like a lot. But if you don't get to 10 hours, don't beat yourself up about it. Try to get as close as you can, as long as you're getting some type of activity so that you can maintain a healthy body weight. Because remember, the extra fatty tissue in your body, the estrogen in it contributes to fueling the breast cancer. So we want to make sure that we are maintaining a healthy weight and getting exercise regularly. Try to cut down on your red meat consumption. Limit your alcohol intake. They say 1 per day. And start looking at labels to where you can reduce your fat intake as well. Throw away the cigarettes. Stop smoking. And also, we went over this last week, and it talks about pregnancy, which was like a big shocker to me. So the timing of your pregnancy, ladies, is very important. So it says the timing of having children can affect your risk of having breast cancer. And this is for women the age of 30. You have a 50% lower risk than the woman who gives birth later or not at all. Another shocker for me was breastfeeding. And like I said, I breastfed every last one of my babies. But if you're breastfeeding and you're doing it for 1 to 2 years, it can actually lower your risk. So you have a protective benefit. You can also choose the right foods. It says, researchers have shown that putting the right food in your body is a direct link to your health. So we need to be making sure that we are selecting healthy food choices. Things as simple as vitamin D with the fatty fish, the milk, the beans, the eggs, the nuts. Start eating a low-fat diet. For women, it's a decrease with the aggressive breast cancer if you have a low-fat diet. Vitamin A, it helps reduces those who are at risk for a family history of the disease. So things like carrots, sweet potatoes, dried herbs, and leafy green vegetables are very good to lower your risk. It points out that with vitamin E, it has been proven to slow down the cancer cells in the ovaries. Things like spinach, kale, you can do wheat, tropical fruit, and also a diet that's rich in fiber. So load up on fruits and vegetables. Those are good things that you want. It's a combination of things. So it's not just one thing that you can use to decrease your risk with breast cancer, but along with exercising, a healthy diet, knowing your risk, being aware. And once you are aware, start moving away from just being aware to taking action. And we're going to look at 3 different levels of risk, which is average, increase, and high risk. With average risk, you have no first-degree relative with breast cancer. You have no personal history of an abnormal biopsy. And then there's the increased risk, which is a family risk. And you have a first-degree relative who has breast cancer, along with the personal risk of an abnormal biopsy. If you fall into the risk category, then that means you have a genetic risk. So that means that you test positive for the gene mutation, which is the BRCA1 and the BRCA2. So what does all of this mean to you? Well, if you test positive for the average risk, that translates into you developing breast cancer at 12%. With the increased risk, it translates into you having breast cancer at 25%. Those of you who are in the high risk category, it translates to you developing breast cancer at 87%. And this was true for Angelina Jolie. And this was the reason for her actually getting her double mastectomy as well as a total hysterectomy. When she took the gene mutation test, she tested positive for 87%, and she decided to get a double mastectomy. And with ovarian cancer, she tested at 57%. So she actually prevented breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So there are ways that you can do it, but you have to know your risk and you have to get the early detection so that you can get away from awareness and start taking action. So in order for you to really manage your risk, you have to start talking to family members. And I know a lot of times we don't like to talk about different things that's related to health. A lot of times we have people in our family that have sicknesses and we don't know what the sicknesses, what they are until, either you get it or someone close to you get it. So it's time to start talking to family members about your history, both sides of the family, so that when you go to the doctor that you're taking them some good information so that when they're looking at how to treat you, or if you are at risk for breast cancer, they know what to look for. They can eliminate things. So it's important for us to start talking. So throughout the show, we will continue to talk about early detection and knowing your risk, because those are important in order to decrease the numbers that are associated with breast cancer. And I know that there are a lot of stats that are out there about breast cancer. And according to the American Cancer Society, they're reporting that 200,000 cases of breast cancer are being diagnosed every single year. And I read this article in Time magazine that was an October issue, and it was titled, "Why Doctors Are Rethinking Breast Cancer Treatment." Now, they would rethink that after I had my treatment, right? That's not fair. That's not fair at all. But we're always looking for ways to improve. So this is what the research is all about. It's trying to improve so that those who are being newly diagnosed don't have to go through all of the radiation, the chemo, and the surgery. But they're looking for ways that they can treat them without having to go through all of that. So if we're looking at it that way, then that's a positive thing. So they're reporting that 40,000 women will die from breast cancer every year. But check this out. That was the same, give or take, for last year and the 13 years before that. Imagine that. So the numbers that we hear about breast cancer, they make it seem like, women are dying at an alarming rate. And I'm not saying don't, be alarmed, because they're still dying, and that's not what we want. So that's the purpose of the show, is so that, we can get you to take an action so that you can be diagnosed early and get proper treatment so that your treatment can be successful when it's diagnosed early. So the chances that a woman will die from breast cancer, well, it reports that roughly 1.3 million women are dying a year in the U.S. But guess what? The number one thing is from heart disease, 22%. And other cancers, excluding breast cancer, 18%. Breast cancer comes in at 3%. So it's not that high, but it's still an alarming rate, because at this point in time, it should be 0 with early detection and knowing your risk. It really should be. But we know that there are going to be some times that we're not going to be able to catch it early for some reason. But we are here to make sure that we are equipping you with information so that you can take charge of your health and you can take steps to help decrease the number of breast cancer cases that are diagnosed every year. So I know this is a lot of information that I'm giving out, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware and that now it's time for you to take action. So with that being said, make sure that you are adding this to your toolbox so that it can help you manage your stress, and so that you can use all of the information necessary so that you can have a fighting chance. So this is where the healing scriptures come in. I love my healing scriptures because it had me at a place when I was at a dark time in my life, and I was able to read the healing scriptures. And it actually had God talking to me. He spoke to me through songs one night when I was having a dark night, and I was asking to hear from him. And he actually, through song, he actually spoke to me and was able to get me through the night. And I was able to read my healing scriptures and know that he had me, and he was able to give me that peace that I was looking for on my journey. So the healing scripture for today, it comes from Psalms 29:11, and it reads, "The Lord will give you strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace." And you can just take that, put it in your toolbox, and know that the same God that raised Christ from the dead, he's able to help you every day with your daily problems. If you are weak, if you feel limited, don't limit God. Don't despair. But remember, God can give you strength, and the same power that controls creation is available to you. You just have to activate your power through prayer and faith in God. So I think we have a call. We do? Yay. Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
William Emanuel.
William